When we create a theology around what didn't happen, or we create a theology that allows for sickness, we change the standard of God. But here's where it really hurts the most. The ability to recognize truth when you hear it comes from an awareness of personal need. Let me explain this. One of the fascinating things in the Bible to me is to find who recognized Jesus for who he was when he came and who missed him. It's fascinating to me that the tax collector would climb a tree because he could see who he was. The prostitute had no problem. All these rejects of society knew exactly who Jesus was. The demonized, who was so tormented, actually ran at Jesus, fell at his feet, and worshiped him. He knew exactly who he was. Those who were trained in Scripture, most of them did not recognize Jesus when he came. The problem is not the training in the Scripture. The problem is that religion insulates us from a realization or discovery of personal need. It insulates us. Christian activity, busyness, can insulate us from the awareness of our personal need. If I create a theology that allows for disease to exist in a person's life, then I have religiously insulated myself from my awareness to press into God to get that measure of breakthrough that is needed so that this stronghold can be destroyed over this city. I'm telling you, it's religion that causes us to create theologies and doctrines, belief systems, practices that have nothing to do with the model that Jesus set. Jesus is the only model worth following. The responsibility to model, miss it when we do, and then not do the guilt-shame thing so we can get back up and model it again. If the enemy cannot stop me from pursuing authentic display of the purity and the power of Christ, if he cannot stop my pursuit, then what he will do is when it doesn't come together like I contended, like I thought, like I believed for, then to get me to turn inward to find some secret hidden problem that actually caused the failure of an answer or breakthrough. My focus went from trusting in God to looking at me, and that's always disastrous. The answer is never to turn inward. The Christian life is not complicated, but it is hard. It's not complicated at all. He just wants to be first. It just simplifies everything. He just wants to be first and have no second. He just wants everything. And so Jesus gives us by decree and by example a life that is different than any life I've ever seen, including my own. Avoiding guilt and shame, what that does is it creates an awareness of need. What does an awareness of need do for a person? The scribes and Pharisees missed Jesus when he came. They were satisfied with their position, satisfied with their knowledge, satisfied with their training, their disciplines, how they had worked hard to please God. They had done all these things, and they had become insulated from a true discernment to recognize truth. The person who had put no time into it at all, but had been stealing money, pilfering, selling their body, doing all this stuff, they recognized him when he came because they all had one common denominator. They all lived with a painful awareness of their need. Sometimes the people that are most ready for absolute transformation are the people that we think are the most lost. And the reason is because they are positioned to recognize truth when they see it, because they live totally aware of their need. Religion works to insulate us from that heartfelt need, so that as the Lord brings greater encounters, more insights, practical experiences, for us to extend this kingdom message deeper into people's lives, deeper into cities and nations, that somehow we would become divorced from that and become insulated so we don't have the kind of effect on the world around us that God has called us to. Living with awareness of need is a big deal in the kingdom. That's why it says, blessed are the poor in spirit. Living aware of personal need. It's not like I need God because I'm going to hell. It's not because I need God because, he's so distant from me. I hate the songs where he's a million miles away and I'm right here. I just don't, I can't get much closer than living inside of me. I don't know how much closer he can get. But what I need is an awareness of the presence that is upon my life. And filling my mind with the religious stuff deadens my awareness to truth and deadens my awareness to his presence. I've told you before, I try to live in such a way that nothing ever gets bigger in my awareness. If I'm watching the news on TV, I hear a conflict or a problem with family or a friend or whatever, I have to guard my heart so that nothing ever gets bigger in my consciousness than my awareness of God's presence upon me. Once it starts getting bigger than my awareness of God's presence on me, I will live in reaction to that because I'm impressed by it. It's bigger. And I can't afford to have anything bigger than my awareness of the Spirit of God resting upon me. Once it gets bigger, I will live in reaction. But as long as I maintain the awareness of the purpose and the presence of God over my life, then that thing is not going to dictate the directions, the focus, the values of my life.